100 all-purpose yards. And if you think he's just a small-town back, think again. This young man is a battering ram and can compete with the best in the country. He's listed as a 3-star recruit by 247 Sports, but his character is tough to truly measure. This is a young man, if you're in the north end of the county, you're not going to want to miss on Friday night. That's your Gulf Coast Sports Minute. I'm JP.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
So this week in sports history, I'm JP. In 1945, the first MLB superstar to return from World War II, Hank Greenberg, homers in his first game, as Detroit beats the Philadelphia A's 9-5. 1973, the Black Sports Hall of Fame forms. Paul Robeson, Elgin Baylor, Jesse Owens, Jim Brown, Wilma Rudolph, Joe Louis, and Althea Gibson were elected. In 1975, Muhammad Ali retains his world heavyweight boxing crown by beating Englishman Joe Bugner by unanimous points decision in a rematch in Malaysia. In 1986, Sparky Anderson is the first to win 600 games as a manager in both the NL and the AL. In 1997, Nevada Athletic Commission suspends Mike Tyson indefinitely and withholds his $20 million purse for biting Evander Holyfield's ear during their heavyweight title fight. That's a moment we all wish we could forget. And in 2007, Craig Biggio of the Houston Astros becomes the 27th member of the 3,000 Hit Club, going 5 for 5 against the Colorado Rockies. That's This Week in Sports History. I'm JP. Pensacola's own NFL Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith has some tips for us during this time.
This fight is up to all of us to try to help bend that curve. It's going to take teamwork. It's going to take us to stay committed, stay focused, and stay dedicated to the mission at hand, and that is to keep everyone safe. So be encouraging. Find some support. Find someone to talk to every day to encourage them to keep on continuing in this fight. And we will beat this pandemic.
JP here. At ESPN Pensacola, we are hometown proud. We love our hometown heroes like Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawk Doug Baldwin.
They fake, little lob, wide open, touchdown, Doug Baldwin.
Bigger body than Wilson likes to throw to, big target. Here's Baldwin, smaller target, and he ducks in for the touchdown.
Hi, this is Doug Baldwin, and you're listening to ESPN Pensacola.
JP here. At ESPN Pensacola, we are hometown proud. Like the greatest pound-for-pound boxer of all time, Roy Jones Jr.
Three-time light heavyweight world champion and former heavyweight champion of the world, future Hall of Fame legend, Roy Jones Jr.
What up? This is your boy Roy Jones Jr. and you're listening to ESPN Pensacola.
This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gullick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brilliante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, sports call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola.
Welcome in to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach K. Stevenson on this Thursday afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well, staying safe, of course, washing your hands, continuing to social distance. You know the drill by now. And look, as we will continue to start off this show each and every day, we want to thank our first responders and our healthcare workers at this time and always. I think it's regardless of what's going on with COVID-19 right now, these people put themselves out there on the front lines each and every day. Things we don't even know that they do to get us better, to protect us, whatever it may be. I think it's so special with especially the times right now highlight these people. But it goes without saying to not forget this, regardless of whatever happens with COVID-19 moving on. These folks put themselves out there work hard each and every day. I have friends and family on both sides, and they love what they do. I want to make that very clear. But they also love the fact that the support they get from the community. So with this being said, with COVID, I'm not going to get into any politics. We don't do that. We don't like to do that on the show, obviously. If you're a listener, you know that. But look, help these folks out as well, and just throw a mask on if you're out and about. If you can't social distance, just do your part. We're going to get through this. We're going to be a lot stronger for this, obviously. But we can't do it without each and every person in our community, and we've done such a great job as well. But, look, I want to also say for our grocery store employees, truck drivers out there, all the essential workers, we're seeing some places have to shut back down right now. Try to support your local businesses. But grocery store workers and truck drivers, thank you guys so much for what you do. I think it goes without saying, of course, the same thing here. When you go pick up groceries, whatever it may be, you see those folks out there working hard to try to give you the best experience they can right now with a little bit of normalcy, and that's not a word we'll probably use for a little while, but regardless, truck drivers out there, those are the unsung heroes, the people, the silent heroes we a lot of times don't think about. Talking to a couple of them to listen to the show, they appreciate the thanks, and if you see one out there, well, just let them know that you care. Look, a kind word goes a long way, especially in times like right now. Coach, we have a ton to get to today. It's going to be a pretty special show, but how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing well, JP, and I second your thanks as always that go out. Very appropriate opening to our show.
Absolutely, Coach. And look, Coach, like I said, we got a ton to get to today. I'm going to jump right into this. Some interesting things that just actually happened. We'll talk about that with the Texas A&M football program. But the NFL decided it's going to shorten its preseason. Now, Coach, when I got this news yesterday, I laughed because, once again, it's another thing that you have talked about that you thought was going to happen. And this is obviously, the NFL canceled its Hall of Fame game on August 8th. We had a feeling that was going to come. But before all this, Coach, months ago, you had talked about the NFL with everything going on was probably going to shorten its preseason, if not get rid of all its games. Right now, the NFL has shortened it to 2 games. They got rid of Week 1 and Week 4. They're working where each team obviously has one home game and one away game. A lot of people have said that they want to have at least 2 games so players understand the protocols they're going to go through, but it may not happen, I think, because the biggest thing is getting on the field and playing the regular season here, Coach. Any surprise at all? And, Coach, do you still believe that the NFL may get rid of its preseason altogether?
Oh, that could easily happen. I would not be surprised at all, JP, if that happens. I felt like for a long time now, just reading between the lines and talking with other people, that there was a good possibility they would cut at least 2 of the games out, and they've done that. Don't be surprised if they cut it down to 1 or 2. Now, you're going to hear 1 or none. You're going to hear coaches crying and screaming from the tallest mountains, but not going to do any good. We're going to talk about something just a little bit later that is going to be another unparalleled inconvenience, but may well be a part of the game this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Coach, jumping in to what's going on, it may be the new norm here for a little while. Some NFL teams considering game day travel during the 2020-2021 season. Of course, this was reported, just to multiple teams basically wanting to fly on their road games on the day of the game to limit exposure to individuals such as hotel workers who may not social distance and self-isolate through the fall, and also protect their players as well. Some players have obviously tweeted out that they're not happy with it. Tyrann Mathieu basically saying, heck no, it's not going to happen. Some other players, of course, pretty upset with it, sending some other things that we're not going to note on here. But, Coach, when you look at this, game day travel, flying in the day of the game, I don't know. I've never been in an NFL locker room, never been an NFL player or coach. Coach, you've done it all. How inconvenient is this for NFL teams? And, for one, I know it's possible, but how much does it change having to go play on the road? I just feel like being the home team that game is such an advantage if that happens.
Well, there's so many aspects of travel. Everybody travels charter. They have their own planes available to them. If they don't have their own plane, they charter through one of the major airlines. But the old rule has been for years, that the team has to show, unless they get an okay from the league office, for whatever reason, might be applicable, they have to show up at least 24 hours before game time the day before the game. And that's been the case for quite a while. Now, if you're traveling east to west or west to east, long trips, then most of the teams go out a day in advance of that. So they're there 48 hours. Some teams even opted to go, for longer than that to try to get used to the time change. So it's going to be different. But listen, they got to be ready for everything. They got to be ready for. In fact, I was telling, had two NFL coaches over at my house last evening for dinner, and I was telling them at this point, you better get ready for no training camp, and they tell you got a week or 10 days or 2 weeks at the most to go in and get ready to play the first opening game of the season. Now, everybody's going to gripe and say it can't be done. It can be done. And as far as traveling and getting there on the same day, listen, Buffalo is a good example of that. They had years ago, back in the early, mid 80s, late 80s, or whatever. They had before that, I'm sorry. But they had a game in St. Louis that they had a big snowstorm in Buffalo and could not get out on time to get there the day before. They had to wait the snowstorm out. They bussed them over to, I think, from Buffalo to Syracuse, which was the nearest airport that would allow them to get out. And then they left there and went to St. Louis. Got there just about got to the stadium about 45 minutes before game time, and
yikes!
Got dressed and went out and played and won the ball game, for crying out loud. Buffalo won that ball game, so it can be done. It has been done, and if they tell you this is the way we've got to do it to play. Now, think about what they're doing here. They're cutting down the odds on people getting sick. That's basically what they're doing.
Yeah, Coach, that's an awesome story, by the way. The fact that they showed up the way they did and then they still won the football game. Look, I completely agree with you on this, and the reason is because these are things that aren't necessarily, they don't have to happen. Players getting there, having their hotel stays and everything like that, it almost brings you back to going to high school football. You show up a couple hours before the game, you get dressed, you go on the field and you play, and except it's a lot nicer because you're flying a charter flight out there. You're eating great meals, you're being taken care of and everything. So I think it's something that a lot of, obviously, players have gotten used to, is that cush mentality of let's just relax and take our time, go out on the town, whatever we may do. And this year is going to be a lot different. So I agree with you. If that's what it takes to play, and you know what, players may not like it in the beginning, but they'll go out and play because that's what they want right now. But one more thing on the NFL, Coach, that I want to bring up is reports are coming out that the NFL may require fans to sign a COVID-19 waiver. Now, this is obviously because fans want to show up to these games. They've made it very clear, even though we have this pandemic going on here. But a lot of these owners and a lot of these stadiums and stuff, they want to protect themselves as well, because we all know how lawsuits go. We all know there's people out there that will sue over anything, regardless. They'll go out of their way to get injured just to go ahead and sue somebody. But not going to get into that. But we obviously, you know the ramifications that comes with this, especially a virus like COVID-19. But obviously they're saying it's something that we could do electronically, but we're just trying to figure out the operational challenges right now if we're allowed to have fans. Coach, I mean, to me, this seems like a no-brainer because these leagues and these teams have to protect themselves as well. But any problem with them, if you want to go to a game, you just sign a COVID-19 waiver?
Listen, they have tons of money spent on legal advice to even turn the lock every morning to open their offices. They're worried about possible lawsuits of all types. So I know this for a fact, talking with some of the owners back years ago. And listen, if you want to go to the stadium and see a football game, then you should be willing to do what they feel they have to do to protect themselves. If you don't like that, very, very simple. Don't go to the stadium. Stay home, watch it on television, or get word in the paper the next day. But don't say you blame the football team for having to protect themselves legally. That's just that's crazy.
Yeah, I agree on that, and it goes back to, we don't know what in the world this whole thing is going to look like this year. For players, it's even tougher. As fans, we sit back and we're not sure what's going on. I can't imagine for coaches and players, just the things, because, Coach, it's even something you said that you've never gone through. I do not envy those people at all. And now I do envy the money they make, obviously, but it's going to be interesting. And for fan perspective, too, we have to understand the hoops you're going to jump through. If you go to games, it's going to take you a lot longer, obviously, regardless of what happens here. They're not obviously just going to open up the floodgates and let people pour in like they have before. Look, we've heard Tennessee and Philip Fulmer talking about he expects 100,000 people in the stands, and people get all over him. But I think right now, look, I disagree with him, obviously, but you know what? It's just showing the optimism, and right now they don't have to make the decision to move forward. I think we have a little bit of time here to see what happens, but with fans going to the games, look, these teams have to protect themselves, and it's just like you said, Coach. There is no better way to put it. If you don't like it, don't go. Simply said. End of story. That's it. Nope, no, nothing else. People just, people want to complain about things, but you have the option, just like players have the option to play or not in all these different leagues. So, Coach, moving on, one more thing here before we go to break. Look, Texas A&M football program, they violated the NCAA rules. Of course, this was just brought up right before the show here, that the football program violated NCAA recruiting and countable athletically related activity rules between January 2018 and February 2019, according to an agreement released by the Division I Committee on Infractions. The head football coach also violated NCAA head coach responsibility rules, and we all know the head coach is Jimbo Fisher here. Now, with this being said, a lot of things, of course, went on. It goes into detail. They are now on a 1-year probationary period, have a fine of $5,000. Jimbo Fisher has a 6-month show cause penalty. Of course, that means reduction in football official visits, off-campus recruiting ban for the entire football coaching staff, 7-day off-campus recruiting ban for the staff for 2020 spring off-campus recruiting activity period, a 10-day off-campus recruiting ban for the football coaching staff for the 2020 fall off-campus recruiting period. A lot of details in here. A ban on recruiting any prospects from the prospects high school for the, obviously, 2021 and 2022 academic years. Like I said, the 6-month show cause order for the head coach. The terms of the show cause order include a previously served 9-day ban on phone calls, emails, texts. Coach, getting into this here, look, there's just so much writing in all this, but to get the gist of it, are you surprised at all that that Texas A&M had this violation with Jimbo Fisher at the helm, knowing how Jimbo Fisher's been a little bit, on the air of let's push it and see how far we can go?
No, to answer your question, no, I'm not surprised. And, Jimbo's been on the, like you said, the cutting edge of pushing the envelope. And I'm sure that there are a lot of people, listen, not only SEC, but keep in mind he's right out there amongst the Texas and all of the schools involved in Southwest Conference, Southwest Conference football, and they're also watching. So I'm sure he's got quite a bit more scrutiny than he's had in the past, and should be a lesson well spent. That you got to learn from that, JP, and you got to do things. You got to do them the right way, and they got enough going to do it the right way. But no, I'm not surprised at that at all.
Yeah, they definitely have everything at their disposal when you're talking about the money, the facilities. Being in the SEC, being in the state of Texas, just everything is going for them, and they were on their way up, obviously. And this is something, like, I agree with you, Coach. It doesn't surprise me a whole lot, but for Texas A&M, we'll see what happens. But what a program! This is a program we talked about, Coach. You mentioned it too. It was a program to look out for maybe not this year to jump, to be the elite team in the SEC, but a team that is building and can be really scary just because of all those things that I mentioned. This is a team that, you know what, I still don't think it's going to slow them down because they have all those things at their disposal. But it's not a good look for Jimbo and those guys regardless. But, Coach, we got to go to a quick break here. When we come back, going to talk about a couple things. Houston and Dana Holgorsen. We kind of forgot about what they did last year after starting 1-3, redshirting a bunch of their players. Will it work out for them this year, and could that be a new normal in college football for some of these group of 5 teams, not Power 5 teams? And Jimmy G popped up again on First Take, asking, can he be elite or is he ready to be elite? We'll talk about that, as well as we're going to give a shout-out today to some of our Pensacola high school football athletes out there. We have so many talented athletes. We know how much talent is here in this city as well from all aspects, but we'll talk about some of the high school football players to look out for this year during Friday nights. All that and more coming back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
Over the last few months, we've realized that those excuses of not doing yard work, you've had to pay up. No excuses to get fat eating a bunch of rancid chicken wings and 3 pitchers because it's football Sunday. Tired of trying to pronounce names overseas at 4 a.m. that we don't know in Korea in baseball. But sports is coming back, and we're optimistic to carry all the biggest games on the Sports Drive, 5 to 7 each and every night on ESPN Pensacola. Thank God all of this didn't happen during college football season.
The latest news and sports can be heard on ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Get the latest news and football on Talk Football with Coach K. Daily sports talk on your drive home on The Sports Drive with Chad Brilliante. And a recap and look ahead of the sports week on Sports Call with Davis and Justin every Saturday. Plus, national sports radio talk on Golic and Wingo, The Dan Lebertard Show with Stu Gotts, and The Paul Feinbaum Show. It all lives on ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
You can watch Coach K talk football live right now on our YouTube channel at ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Thursday afternoon. Appreciate you joining the show. Hope all is well with you. Coach, getting into this now, some college football news. Dana Holgorsen, the coach at Houston, of course, a little bit different of a year last year. De'Aaron King is now transferred out. to Miami, which we think is going to be big for Miami. But Houston, look, what Dana Holgorsen did last year, he tried something new, almost like, people were calling it a little bit of a invention. I don't call it invention because I want to see it work first. But he tried something new last year, and we'll see if it'll pay off. Basically redshirting a lot of his marquee players, a lot of his starters. We know that, of course, after starting 1-3, things didn't happen the way that they wanted to. He had a couple guys, key guys, get injured. After, including losing to Oklahoma and Washington State, he basically made the decision that a lot of coaches I don't think would be able to do. I don't think this is going to be the new norm, but we'll talk about it anyway. Of course, they finished the season 4-8 with a lot of these young guys getting the opportunity to play. But now it's brought up. The article is basically talking about if this works this year, could we possibly see teams start to do this whenever the season, maybe they have a couple big injuries here, or maybe they lose a couple key games to start off with? Because remember, the NCAA implemented a rule you can play 4 games and then redshirt, and it doesn't count against you. So, Coach, my question to you is basically, look, Dana Holgorsen punting on 2019 last year, if this works out, do you believe that we could see, and I'm not going to say Power 5 teams necessarily, but Group of 5 teams, just because we know that whenever they're good, they're usually only good for a couple years to be able to compete with the big dogs. But could this be a normal if this works out for Houston this year?
I hesitate to say no, because football people are well known for follow the leader. Just copycats. If somebody does something that's off the beaten path to some extent, and they're successful at it, then you're going to see other people follow suit. That's just unfortunately a part of it. But they'll go, even if they lead them right off a cliff, they'll go jump off the cliff with them. But for the most part, the leaders in the game establish their own path and do their own thing and think their own way, take care of things on an individual basis. So I hesitate to say no, because surely there will be somebody, if they're successful, there will be somebody out there, maybe more than just somebody, maybe many people who will just decide to follow suit. But I don't know who is going to be in a position. I think you better be in a position to have a 4-8 season before you do it, because it may be 4-8 or it may be 0-12. So it's better think twice before you follow that path.
Yeah, I agree. I think the thing you have to be careful with as well is, De'Aaron King, he redshirted De'Aaron King, and everybody had talked about that was a decision that they had made together because, of course, De'Aaron had an injury to start off the season, and he was going to come back about midway through, but decided to go ahead and redshirt. And the thing is, Coach, now, if the NCAA also goes with this free transfer rule, you redshirt some of those guys, and they're going to be getting some calls, and who knows what's going to happen, and especially if they can get paid. It's going to be interesting, because I think that's a very, very slippery slope that you get on. I understand, I understand the mindset behind it to an extent, but I agree with you, because here's the other thing. If you do this and you come back the next year and you're not very successful, you may be looking for another job, because it's a tremendous risk moving forward to go ahead and say, okay, you know what, we started 1-3, we're just going to go ahead and sit our players. We're going to go ahead and redshirt them, and we'll hope better for next year, because next year is not promised. You look at right now with 2020, we're just trying to make it through 2020 day by day, but I just think that's a slippery slope to play with there, and for me, I wouldn't want to make that call. I don't think I could make that call, but then again, I am not a college or NFL coach, so I am not going to speak on that. But, Coach, I want to talk about something that was on First Take again today. It seems like they always want to talk about him, but the question came up, is Jimmy Garoppolo, ready to become an elite quarterback? Now, Coach, I think he's a good quarterback right now. I think what he's been able to do is fantastic. I want to make it clear for a lot of people out there, his overall record is 21-5. He completes almost 68% of his passes. Has thrown 44 touchdowns to 21 interceptions. This guy has been awesome. Of course, he went through the injuries, but last year he's finally fully healthy. He looked good, went out there and played well. when you look at what happened last year with the 49ers making the Super Bowl, just in the regular season alone, threw for almost 70% completion percentage. They went 13-3, almost 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, 13 interceptions there. This is a team that offensively wasn't built really for Jimmy Garoppolo because they didn't have the weapons necessarily that some of these other teams have. They relied, look, they played 3 or 4 running backs. It was interesting the way that Shanahan did that offense, but it ended up working pretty well because they have a dominant defense as well. But with Jimmy G, Coach, first off, I want to make this clear. He's 21-5. He's thrown for 44 touchdowns and 21 interceptions if you want to bring that up. But to me, I like him a ton. I think that he is a quarterback that is not asked to necessarily go out and win games like other quarterbacks are because the style of team that they have from defense to offense and everything. But, Coach, the one thing I do want to bring up is we talk about Dak Prescott and everybody's saying, well, he deserves to get paid. He deserves to get paid. He deserves to get paid. Okay, that's fine. They say he's an elite-style quarterback. But yet, I look at this. Once again, 21-5 for Jimmy G. Dak Prescott is 6-17 against playoff teams. And yet, we look at him like he is an elite quarterback. Coach, I'm not buying it because it's got 2 different quarterbacks here. Like I said, it all depends on your offense as well. But if you want to say, well, you know what, it's a team game, he's 25 touchdowns and 25 interceptions in those games where they're 6-17 against playoff teams. He beats the teams he's supposed to beat, rightfully so. But, Coach, I look at Jimmy G, and for people to say, is he ready to be elite, I think he's a great quarterback. I mean, elite, it all depends on what elite means to so many people. Is he ready to be Tom Brady? I don't think so because there's only a couple Tom Bradys in this entire aspect of the NFL, in the history of it. I don't know what to make of this, Coach. I mean, what do you make of the comments here on First Take with Jimmy G?
Well, I've got quite a few thoughts on it, but if I've been very clear on this program and on numerous occasions that I like Garoppolo. I think he is a very talented young quarterback. I think that what he's done as a young quarterback, 21-4, had been the quarterback of a team that has gone to a Super Bowl already. Picked up where an injured quarterback went down and did a heck of a job in New England. I don't know where these people get off with. If you had, I think there are people with a certain agenda that goes beyond football. Quite frankly, they want to demean certain players in certain positions and really ingratiate other players who don't really deserve it. But unfortunately, that's part of what we're dealing with. But for anybody to say Garoppolo or try to cast him as just another guy who came along, I think they're really showing their ignorance as far as football is concerned. He's a fine young quarterback, and any team should be glad to have him. There's no doubt about that. I think you could take Jimmy Garoppolo and win a lot of football games, and he would get to the big one with him, which I've said over and over and over on this program, that if you don't have the right quarterback chances, you can get there, but the chances are so slim that you wouldn't want to take them. You need a quarterback, a good quarterback, to get to the big one, to get to the big game. And Garoppolo is capable of getting you there and winning it. And I think it's very unfair how they go back to the Super Bowl and use the second half of the Super Bowl, a one overthrown pass, as criterion for downgrading this kid. I think it's terrible. But anyway, those are my thoughts on it for what they're worth.
Yeah, I agree, Coach. I think, look, I understand that no matter where you want to place blame in that Super Bowl, it is what it is. I also think with Tyreek Hill being wide open, we saw Richard Sherman come out in defense of Jimmy G, but I think, being up 10 the way they were, yeah, I know he completes a couple passes, and it's different. But I'm interested to see really from an aspect of Jimmy G continuing to grow because it was his first year truly being healthy with that team, and you saw what they did. And I think they're going to be just as good. Of course, Emmanuel Sanders gone now, but adding more weapons, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see what happens. But, Coach, I do before, of course, we go to break here, I want to spend a couple minutes talking about this. They don't get a whole lot of light here in our own community. We forget about our athletes. We know how many professional athletes we have in this city. It's fantastic. If you really want to break it down, you could have a list miles long, Coach, of all these athletes, from Olympic athletes to NFL, MLB, NBA, whatever you want to say. We have them all here, including, look, even NASCAR here with a couple ones. But, Coach, I do want to talk about a couple of the big-name high school football players to look out for, because right now, look, we're not sure what's going to happen. We're assuming we're going to have football. It's going to be tougher for high school football. I know they're working through things right now, talking to some of the coaches with conditioning and going through different things. It's a little tough for them. They don't have all the necessities that college teams do, or NFL teams, obviously, but they're doing a pretty good job with doing different sessions, spreading guys out, making sure they deeply sanitize everything, making sure that their players understand, not just while they're there, but while they're out and about on their own. Because, once again, we talk about this with college players. It's going to come down to a lot of them doing the right thing as well and quarantining when they're not working out or whatever. But same thing, talking to some of the coaches, they're getting great responses from the players, because the players obviously want to play too. But I do want to talk about some of the big-name athletes. Now, the guy that I want to bring up, Coach, we saw yesterday, really awesome to hear, Simeon Price from West Florida Tech. He's listed as a wide receiver, but look, I cover high school football, and anybody that's covered high school football understands this young man does just about everything. And West Florida didn't have a great year last year, but it was a little bit tough with injuries and some other things they were going through. But he committed to South Carolina yesterday, and I thought that was awesome to see. And it made me, talk. We talked about it before the show, Coach. Think about all these other athletes as well. Just for some people that don't know, his dad actually played in the NFL for 8 years, starting in 1990 for the Cincinnati Bengals. So he's got some of that NFL blood in his veins there, Coach. But a couple other guys I wanted to bring up as well. Kobe Johnson, of course, out of Navarre, committed to South Alabama to play. Grady Kelly. Now, Grady Kelly is a defensive lineman there for Navarre. If you don't know about Grady Kelly, well, if you follow high school football, you do, because, Coach, he had 7 sacks in a game against Lincoln High School, I believe, last year. Unbelievable to think a player has 7 sacks. First off, that's incredible against a big-name team in Tallahassee like Lincoln. We all know how special Lincoln is. But I just want to, Coach, I'm going to go over a couple more of these athletes, but, Coach, you were here. You played at Pensacola High School. You understand. You went to Florida. You played in the NFL. How special is it to see, and how special is it that people need to really, truly realize the athletes that we have here? And what does it mean to you to be able to come from Pensacola and go play at the highest level and then be able to come back home? You there, Coach? Not sure if we lost Coach or not. But look, I want to make it very clear again. Go over a couple of these other guys. Of course, Demarius McGee, with Catholic, and the season that Coach Adams had with Catholic last year, of course, was just unbelievable to go from a team that we saw them the year before be able to come back to 500. I think it's so special to what those guys are doing. Demarius McGee getting an Under Armour All-American Bowl invite is really special, as we know that's the top 100 players. But Jaden Jackson up in Northview, I know we talk about Northview. They're in the north end of the county for a lot of people that may not know. They have a special guy there. Of course, he's gotten his first commitment was, I believe, as a sophomore to Boston College, and this is a big bruising back up there. And we all know Northview is a fantastic rushing team. Now, they got a new coach, of course, up there, but it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with them. A couple other guys I'll go through here. Marquise Robinson, the defensive lineman out of Milton, 6'3", 300 pounds. They call him Big Baby. He's not a baby at all. I want to make that very clear at 6'3", 300, but he is a very, very special guy. Of course, he's got offers from Alabama, Georgia, Auburn, Florida State, all the big-name guys. So he's not a guy that you'll be able to miss on the field. And we know with Coach Lee's and what Milton is doing over there, that defense is going to be just absolutely phenomenal. Of course, brings up Raymond Cottrell. Raymond Cottrell is a freshman last year. This kid is an 8th grader. Before he even stepped in the halls of Milton High School, got an offer from Florida State. 6'3", is a big kid, athletic kid. I know I saw, of course, a lot of these high school athletes are playing 7-on-7 tournaments. Good to see that as well, and competing with some of the highest caliber players in the country and going out and just dominating. Look, I have a special place in my heart for the high school athletes here, being able to cover it, getting to watch them grow up, getting to see JoJo Blackman over with Escambia. Like I said, Jaden Jackson again, and Jaden Jackson covering it. It's good to see small-town high school football players like that being able to go on and play at the next level. Eric Smith Jr. is a kid burst on the scene last year, 6'4", 193, and just how humble he is about it. We know Booker T. Washington and what they were able to do last year, turning that program around from a team that did not win a football game to going and competing with Escambia for the district title there was special. Rasheed Lovelace, a young man who is class of 2022, 6'3", 300 pounds. I just go down the list, and the reason I go down the list, Jaheim Simmons, one more, the running back there for West Florida. And I know we have a ton, and we'll get into this more, but I just want to make it very clear how many truly special high school athletes we have across. And there's guys that aren't getting the recognition right now that we will see sign with Division I programs, Division II, Division III. I don't think it really matters. It just shows the depth that we have. And like I said, Coach playing at Pensacola for the years that he played, being able to go on to the next level. He has a lot of memories as well. We'll try to get Coach, are you there? Yeah, we'll try to get Coach back on. Remember, we're practicing social distancing as well here on the show as Coach is back home taking the phone call here. But we'll get back to that a little bit more because I do want to talk about some of these Pensacola athletes with him, and I know that they have a special place in his heart as well because it's different if you've been able to come from this area and go play at the highest level and be able to come back home. Just truly what it means being hometown proud here. Look, when we come back, we'll also talk about, some interesting takes on college football and some NFL quarterbacks that, the comments may make you a little upset, but we'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Just felt there's a huge need in Pensacola to bring foot and ankle services, specifically orthopedic foot and ankle services, to this area. There's so much growth in Pensacola. I wanted a freestanding orthopedic foot and ankle center to do this, and as far as I can tell, this is the only one really in the country that's freestanding. Most orthopedic surgeons are part of a multi-specialty group. So we offer on-site x-rays, on-site CT scan, and on-site MRI. They can come to one place.
Visit NielsenOrthopedics.com to reserve your appointment today.
For your ridiculous facts, I'm JP. In order to celebrate her 70th birthday, Kansas City native Chow Smith ran 7 marathons on 7 continents on 7 consecutive days. And here I am debating whether to go to the gym or not. Since 1896, soccer fields in Germany have to be free of trees. And in North Korea, basketball is played according to different rules. For example, the team loses points if it doesn't score on free throws, and a dunk scores 3 points instead of the usual 2. Now that's something I can get behind. That's your ridiculous facts. I'm JP. JP here. Everyone here at ESPN Pensacola wants to send a shout out to our first responders and healthcare workers at this time. We know it's tough, but we appreciate the work you put day in and day out. We also want to thank our essential workers out there for helping all of us continue to live our lives as normal as possible in this time. For our community, keep rocking it. We are going to get through this. Remember, we were named the #1 strong town in America. That wasn't by accident. We have seen so many people step up and do their part, and we thank all those people for their efforts. We will be stronger for this, and together, we will beat COVID-19.
This is Davis Allen from Sports Call with Davis and Justin, and you're listening to Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Thursday afternoon. Appreciate you joining the show here. Look, getting back into this, Coach, we got our I think we got our problems figured out. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry about the delay there.
Okay, good deal. Just checking before I got back into this. Coach, we had talked about it before the show, the high school athletes, of course, in our area. All of them. I mean, I went down an entire list, of course, with Simeon Price committing to South Carolina. That's awesome for our area. But, going down, we have a ton of players that are committed to Division I programs, Division II, whatever it may be, guys that we don't even know about in our area. But, look, you were someone that played at Pensacola High School. You went on to play at Florida, playing in, the Buffalo Bills and coaching there, Coach. What does it mean? And for these high school athletes, with everything right now, we're so unsure what's going to happen, but how truly special was it to be able to go and see Pensacola, you play at Pensacola High School, go up to the next level, play at the highest level, coach, and now come back home and see these other athletes and just how special Pensacola is. What does it mean to you, Coach?
Well, it means a lot. I mean, I'm extremely fortunate to have had the opportunities that I've had, and I'm extremely grateful for that. A lot has to be because of the environment here in Pensacola. One, outstanding coaches. I mean, I go back to Bill Bond in Little League, Little League baseball. Coach Jim Scoggins, Jimmy Haynes, Stokes. You go on and on and on. Fred Waters. I had some of the best coaches ever to come down the pipe. And I'm just extremely thankful for that. But it certainly helped me to understand what you had to do to achieve certain things in football and baseball, those two in particular. So I think it's, again, right now, with these kids here in Pensacola, they're getting outstanding coaching. There is a tradition of winning and a tradition of good athletes coming out of here. And I think that helps to promote some goodwill toward these kids as they come along. They know about the other guys that have come out of here, and it creates momentum. And in a strange way, I think it does create momentum for them. But I think we're all very fortunate to have a place like Pensacola to have been raised in.
Yeah, I agree, Coach. And look, I grew up in the north end of the county, so seeing all the players, Trent Richardson and guys that came through here. We've seen Doug Baldwin's, of course, during my time, and it's awesome to see all these players and a lot of these players that don't get the recognition. That's what we want to do here. We want to, put it out there because with right now with high school football, everything seems to be going on as planned, but we all know how that changes day by day here. And like I said before, Coach, talking to some of the local coaches around here, they are going through, of course, things are different. They were able to start conditioning and things like that. But the new norm is not normal at all for a lot of these guys as they're doing sessions. And typically you would have a day and a night session for guys. Obviously we know some teams do 2-a-days. But regardless, bringing certain amount of players in, they have to sanitize. They have to. They're educating their players, letting their players know that listen, it's not just about what you do here. You have to do this at home as well. And if we want to play high school football, if we're serious about it, there's things we got to do. But I think, of course, all of our coaches around here do such a great job, and we have so many tremendous programs around here. I just, we wanted to bring up some of the high school players around here that. We don't get too much recognition, but nonetheless, we'll as we go along our football season, hopefully unscathed here with high school football in our area, as well as college football. But just wanted to send some positive vibes out there to some of these guys, because we have so many talented athletes. And Coach, I had talked about a young man as well. I want to bring him up one more time just because this is a guy that I think is going to get big-time recognition as an 8th grader. And I heard about him. Of course, Coach, you know that I do the high school football games for WFGX and WEAR there. But this is a guy that, doing Milton games, you hear people come up and say, well, have you heard about this guy? I'm like, no, what grade is he in? Well, he's in 8th grade. And I kind of shake my head because we all know there's people. But Raymond Cottrell, this young man got an offer from FSU in 8th grade before he even stepped foot into Milton High School. And we hear that with some players. But, Coach, when you look at this kid, 6'3", big-bodied kid, over 200 pounds, elite speed, just a phenomenal wide receiver. Of course, he's already got a couple more offers as well from some big Power 5 schools. But, Coach, I just think it goes along the lines of this is Raymond Cottrell is a name that people need to understand, because if you don't know who this kid is, you will. I talk about kids on Gulf Coast Sports Minute on our commercials and try to highlight some of these guys. But Raymond Cottrell, Coach, I want to make that name clear to a lot of people over at Milton High School, is a guy that they definitely need to look out for. But, Coach, I want to talk about a couple things here. Look, Alabama, of course, getting another 4-star recruit. No big surprise there with Alabama and what Saban's been able to do. A lot of people actually go, well, wait a minute, just a 4-star? Yeah, well, calm down. It's still early for a lot of teams. I want to bring up one team, Coach, that's off the radar a little bit, but right now they actually bumped up to number 3, and it's the North Carolina Tar Heels and Mack Brown. They have 12 players right now that are 4-star or above, or 12 players that are 4-star at least. When you look at it, of their 17 commits. And right now, like I said, they're behind Ohio State and Clemson for top recruiting classes. Tennessee is number 4, USC 5, Oregon 6. Florida is number 8, LSU 9, and Alabama is at 12 right now. Pump the brakes. They'll be okay. But, Coach, when you look at what Mack Brown's been able to do, it's not just getting a bunch of recruits. He's getting 4- and 5-star guys at North Carolina, which a lot of people are scratching their heads and going, wait a minute, I thought Mack Brown was washed up. I thought he was just going to coach for a couple more years, and that was it. But, Coach, I mean, what do you make of the job right now that Mack Brown is doing over in Chapel Hill?
Well, I think it's a great indicator. Just look at what he did last year. You know, North Carolina was used to be considered an easy out. They were tough. They played as well as most any team, and certainly in the ACC. And they were only a few steps, a couple of steps behind Clemson. They're closing the ground on what they have to compete with for the top of the league. I think that's the only way Mack Brown would want to go. If you're going to play, let's play to be the best. And North Carolina is certainly a football team that we should all watch. In fact, I just don't know of anybody else in the ACC right now that's doing a better job than they are. So I'm not surprised at this. I think a lot of people are, but I'm not surprised at what they're doing up there. And I think they're going to have a heck of a year. Listen, I want to jump back on one thing, JP, and that is just I don't want to be anything less than positive about most any issue or subject we talk about. But I think as something that we should at least make people aware of, and I believe and hope that high school football is going to be able to go on as usual and as planned. But we have to be aware of the significance of this virus and where it could play a cruel trick on us, and that is most probable would be high school football. Listen, the NFL is going to play because of the money that they're going to be getting from TV and because of the national interest in having professional football played. Major colleges, I say major colleges, I'm talking about the big five, are going to play because, again, the money that they're going to get from television is something they can't afford to pass up. Now, smaller schools don't have that coming in. So if we're not careful with this virus, we could see some of the smaller schools opt not to play or at least have an abbreviated season. But I think the big schools are going to play because the TV dollars are going to be there. And they'll find a way. They have the resources, and they'll find a way to stem the tide of the virus on their campus. Now, and the point I'm getting to is high schools don't have that luxury. They don't have big ESPN, CBS, NBC dollars coming in. They don't have it. So their season is going to be solely determined based on how they can keep these kids the safest, and if they determine that they can't, because they're not going to be able to control their environment that much as well. You know, these kids, they're gonna go to gatherings, they're gonna get around their peers. It's just almost impossible to keep them quarantined. So put all that together, and there would be the biggest chance that high school football would be impacted most severely by this virus.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And Coach, like you say, we always try to bring the positive vibes, but there are things that we have to recognize and can't ignore, and that's something. That's why I said, talking to some of the local high school coaches around here, the biggest thing that they actually said they spend a ton of time on is trying to educate their players and make sure their players know that everybody has to do their part in this. And it's not fun right now, especially when you're talking about, look, colleges are having trouble quarantining their kids as well. But for high school kids, they want to go out, they want to be active, they don't want to just sit around in the house and things like that, and rightfully so, you understand that. But he tries to make sure they understand of the things that can happen if you don't follow some of these rules. That's why I go back, no matter what you think or what you feel, if you're going to be around people, just wear a mask. It's a small gesture, but it's something that I will say this at this point. I wasn't necessarily for wearing one in the beginning, but here's my thing. If it helps somebody else, it's such a very minor inconvenience to me. I don't care. I'll wear it, especially if it makes things get back to normal, not just for sports, but just in our life in general for other people, just the well-being of other people as well. If it makes people feel a little bit better, it's not anything. It's no skin off my back. So I'm not trying to get into anybody's personal feelings here, but I'm just saying that my perspective has changed as well as we've gone along with this. So it's going to take the entire village here in Pensacola, just for us, and I know we can't control everybody else, but just everybody try to do your part. I mean, we're all in this thing together, and all it takes is one person to have it, to spread it to other people, and then we have a tremendous other outbreak that's going on. So I just want to throw that out there. But, Coach, I think that's a valid point as well for high school football. We are optimistic.
That's a good point. That's a very good point, JP. And I really think that the overwhelming evidence is that if everyone would wear a mask, I understand that they have to understand some people don't like it, that it doesn't protect them, it protects somebody else. But like you said, that is important. But if everybody would wear a mask, they could cut a tremendous percentage of the virus off and get it back to certainly a leveling off period. So I think it's crazy that people wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I agree, Coach. And like I said, my thought process has changed a lot. I'll admit that I was wrong in the beginning about it. So, you know what? As we take it day by day, we'll continue to do the same thing. We'll continue to be optimistic, but everybody needs to do their part in this. We were voted the #1 Strong 10. I've said it before. There's a reason behind that. It's more than just certain things certain qualities you may think. It's a lot to be said about the people we have in our community here. So, Coach, we got to go to a quick break here. When we come back, I do want to mention the Penn State athletic director talking about, of course, a spring college football season, as we've heard the Ivy League mentioning it. I believe they're actually going to make their decision here coming up soon, whether they're going to move to the spring or not. But we'll talk a little bit about what the Penn State athletic director said when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. This Thursday afternoon, about a minute and a half, couple minutes here, Coach. I wanted to mention this. Of course, the Penn State Athletic Director speaking out against spring college football season. A lot of people are, of course, going out and saying, well, how can they just downplay that? I want to make it very clear. The SEC said, look, we're not worried about that right now either. We're not worried about the spring. We're trying to play right here in the fall. And a lot of people laugh and say, yeah, typical SEC. But, Coach, I mean, the spring college football season, there'd be so many things involved with that. With the Ivy League does their own thing anyway, regardless. They have no implementation to what happens with Division I. But, Coach, in your honest opinion, do you believe right now that that's a actual – there's some validity to spring football season moving forward?
No, I don't. I don't want to sound obstinate on this, but who cares about the Ivy League? If they want to play in the spring, they can play in the spring. It's not going to make any difference if they play in the fall or the spring. But for everyone else, no, I don't see that happening. Do I see it as a last resort? Possibly. As a last resort, if they can't play and the TVs agree to carry the money forward and pay them in the spring, that's a possibility. But I think it's a distant possibility, not really feasible as you go forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I think if that happens, you'll see a lot of players obviously sitting out moving forward. But, Coach, look, we didn't get to everything, but you know what? That sound means it's time for us to go as usual. We'll give it our best shot tomorrow. But, Coach, it's been a pleasure.
You bet. Thanks a lot, JP.
Absolutely. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it, and appreciate our listeners out there. Listen, we'll be back tomorrow, same time, talking some football with you right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
Talk sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gullick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brilliante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, Sports Call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEVY, Milton, Pensacola.
Hour number 2 of First Take, Your Take on ESPN Radio. Kevin Connors in today for Jason Fitz. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests join us via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Sports Center headlines to get us going. 9 more NBA players have tested positive for COVID-19. This according to a release from the NBA and its Players Association. That brings the total number of positive tests by players to 25 of the 351 in the league. Meantime, the NCAA has placed Texas A&M football on probation and given head coach Jimbo Fisher a 6-month show cause order that will impact recruiting. It all stems from impermissible recruiting contact with a prospect and spring and summer practice periods exceeding the allowed 7 hours. And round one play is underway at the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit. This week's stop on the PGA Tour, Doc Redman, 22-year-old. Shot a 7-under 65 early this morning. He's tied with Scott Stallings for the overall lead. Straight Talk Wireless runs on the same networks while saving up to 50%. Get the unlimited plan with up to 25 gigs of high-speed data, then 2G for just $45 a month. No contract, Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise. Kevin Connors in today for Jason Fitz. First take, your take on ESPN Radio. We've been asking you the question at 888-SAY-ESPN. Will there be an asterisk attached to this year's NBA champion? We'll get back to the phone lines in just a bit. But first, Cam Newton, the big story of the week, of course, signing with the New England Patriots. It's a small deal, great deal for the Patriots. Low risk, the potential for huge reward. But will he be embraced in the New England area? This, of course, a franchise that's been spoiled with the incredible play of Tom Brady, 9 Super Bowl appearances, 6 Super Bowl championships, and a guy who, for the most part, has done it without saying much of anything. Cam is a guy who's going to give you some personality. And there were radio hosts in Boston suggesting, you know what, that maybe that personality won't be as warmly received by New England sports fans. Damian Woody, who played